It's Thursday. It's the Nilvah Nexus. Welcome, one and all. James the Idol Smasher, gmail.com is my email address. If you'd like to get in on this little conversation we do here every Thursday on Google+, join our Facebook page, the Nilvah Nexus, or the Nilvah Nexus here on Google+. And just got off a 3-day juice fast myself, so I'm rather energetic. Just got off of the juice fast. Now I can get the fermented stuff. Good evening, all. Tonight's topic is Aggada versus Halacha, question mark. And I put the question mark at the end of it because is it really a problem? Noahides are often taught, you don't want to go over there. You don't want to read the Midrash. You don't want to read. I mean, I had one rabbi a long time ago who said, you need to get, the Midrash says. That's my next purchase. I don't know, John, should I get the Midrash says or the little Midrash says?
The Midrash says.
Okay, just go for it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
my little Midrash is more kind of kiddish. It's more like aimed towards like children.
Ah.
The Midrash says is just a compilation. You've seen. I've showed it in a video. I showed it in the Hangouts before. I have it at the temple. It's a nice set. It's a nice collection. I recommend it. It's just the Midrash says is just a condensed version of the Midrash, because if you read through all the Talmud, it's pretty much a condensed. I'm pretty sure it's just a condensed version. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, there you go. Kitzer, yeah.
So I always wonder why. And then World of the Ger isn't halakha; it's considered Aggadah. So it's not about law. In my opinion, my experience, and I don't know anything about this, y'all. Always ask your local rabbi. I'm not here to teach you anything. For you watching at home. But for me, it makes a horse pill go down easier sometimes. Learning. You might want to call it folklore, but I don't even want to call it that. I mean, if you're going to tell a story to a child, sometimes yes, you have to use a lot of anthropomorphical language. You have to you embellish a bit maybe, but even when you're grown-ups, there are stories that can still get a point across better figuratively than you could ever get it across in a literal manner. And Noahides were always taught, it's all about the seven and only seven. Stick with that. Don't look anywhere else. And it's always about steering. And if you bring up something, if you learn something in a midrash, or if you learn something in, something of Aggadah, and you bring it up as an explanatory measure, one of the biggest things that always comes back to me is, well, that's not binding, which is a nice way of saying that's not halakha and it doesn't matter. And knowing how I think the Western world in particular, but I'd say the world in general, is rather spiritually starved, I would think that maybe this might be a good thing for people. What is wrong with the Midrash? Why are we told to steer clear of it? Not steer clear, but it's almost like a Noahide doesn't need to learn that. It's beyond the Noahide, and they'll never understand it, and you're going to confuse them, and we're stupid, basically. And I'm thinking to myself, is this really the case? I don't know a lot about the subject myself. I want to see what folks bring up. And John, we're welcome to chime in. We're going to get some more people invited in here too, and maybe just wax on Torah and free flow.
I mean, if you want to just open the floodgates and just invite the whole Google Plus friends list, if you want, that's fine with me. I'm up for it. I got myself. I'm drinking. What am I drinking tonight? Jameson, good old Irish whiskey. Jameson. So I'm ready. I've been drinking.
I had one beer and I felt pretty good myself.
There's an old joke. This Jew, he brings his kid to a psychiatrist and he says, I want to know what my kid's going to be when he grows up, right? So he puts 3 things on the table: a Bible, money, and a bottle of liquor. And the psychiatrist says, I could tell you what he's going to be depending on what he picks. So the kid's like looking at the items. He picks up the chumash. He's flipping through the pages. He's reading it, right? Puts it down. He picks up the bottle of liquor. He's looking at it. Oh, nice, right? He's looking at it. Then he puts it down. He picks up the money. He's jiggling around, right? He goes. So the kid's father goes to the psychiatrist. Okay, what does it all mean? He touched everything. What does it all mean? The psychiatrist goes, he's going to grow up to be a rabbi. No, you don't like that. You know, they say they drink a little bit. They drink a little bit. He knows the Bible. He's in another Bible. He's going to deal with money, and he's going to drink. He's going to be a rabbi. I don't know. I guess it went over. Whatever. When you have to explain it, it's not as good. All right.
Actually, that helps. Thanks. I don't know who to invite.
Bring
I got a few people in my circles, and I don't want to go public. Of course, the title Aggada versus Halacha. I think people are going to look at that and go, "What?" Probably think we're terrorists.
I think for practical, I think the difference is for a practical sense that we go by Halacha. I think you would drive people crazy if we actually took the stories literal. You know what I'm saying? If we took the parables and we took the allegorical stuff from the Torah and Midrash as binding, it would probably, I don't know, I'm just saying from a personal standpoint, I don't think, I guess it would just be, it wouldn't be practical. You know, you say halakha, you just do what you have to do. You keep Shabbos, you eat kosher, you put on tefillin every day, you're a Jew, you're a Jew, you're a Jew. And if you want to believe in the other stuff, you know, was Hagar really Torah? Did she repent? Did Ishmael repent? You know, that's optional things. You know, that's like things you want to get deep into it. You know what I mean? It's like the difference between a hacker and a Russian hacker, I guess. I don't know. It's difference between the DNC and the Republicans, I guess.
Yeah, practically, it is. Yeah, it's not as applicable to life as halakha is.
Halakha is like a remedy for human beings. It's like a remedy for human beings, right? It's like it makes sense for everyone. I think anyway. I mean, that might be actually a controversial statement for that the Torah is good for everyone, but is the Talmud and all the Midrash and all the Haggadah and all the Kabbalah and all the Aggadah and the Mamamala and all the other Aggadahs, you know what I mean? It's I don't know. I really don't know how to. I don't really know how to say it. Really,
it's secondary. It should be taken as secondary.
Yeah.
We don't want to say it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So is this why the Noahide is kind of shielded from it? Because first you have to get your behavior in order first.
Oh, I see where you're going.
In order, then your mind will be ready to process some of the stuff.
Well, isn't that the old Ashkenazim thinking? At 5, the custom is at 5 you have something called a chumash party, meaning when your kid turns 5, that's when they learn their chumash, because chumash means 5 in Hebrew. The letter 5 means chumash. You have 5 books in the chumash, right? And then when you're 10, you learn the midrash. 13, you're going off to yeshiva. You're learning the Talmud. And 18, you're married. And then at 20, you're getting deeper. You're probably a rabbi by then. And then 40, you're learning Kabbalah. Like there's a certain breakdown. There's a certain level you have to achieve. But that's like an old Ashkenazim way of looking at it, though. I don't think most Jews today even hold to that, do they? I don't even know. I don't even think they do. Like Lubavitch, they just teach Kabbalah to anyone. They just, I mean, if you're like a 5-year-old and you want to learn Kabbalah, then you sit down with the rabbi and learn it. You know, I'm obviously being hyperbolic about it. I mean, they don't literally teach 5-year-olds, but I think you get what I'm saying. But it's kind of just, we don't really do that anymore, right? You just learn it. You know, I guess today, free society, freedom of America and the internet, and it kind of tore down those walls, you know. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, no. The genie's out of the bottle. I mean, you can't knock the printing press.
Right, the genie's right. The cat's out of the bag. It's you can't put the secrets back in. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, I guess.
Go ahead. I just saying shalom.
No, yeah, shalom alaikum. Alaikum shalom.
Shalom back.
So we're pondering. I think that's the right word. Pondering why the
Aggada is it's always almost frowned upon. I've noticed in my conversations anyway, and I know I'm not alone. It's not binding. That's what everyone says. It's not binding. It's not binding. And it's almost saying, you know, it's not binding means it's less than. Something that is binding. I think that would be a nice way of saying that's not law. That's not in the Noahide Code, so you don't need to be concerned with it.
It's very yeshivish. It's a yeshivish way of thinking. It's the people that go to yeshiva, modern day Judaism, modern day Orthodox Judaism. It's very yeshivish. It's not exactly what's the word? Haredi or Hasidic. It's not a really. It's kind of. It depends. I think it's just the group we run with here, or you in particular. I'm sorry, the particular group, because the people that I talk to say the Midrash is just as credible as Torah. It is Torah. It is Torah. That's it. That you want to know Torah, you learn Midrash. It's Torah.
It's part of the package. That's how I thought it was. But
now, if you want to be, you're right, technically about it. If you want to be like a yeshiva, you know, the thinking of it, yes, it's the written word and the Mishnah, the oral law. Bam, bam, the two parts. Right.
Right.
But it comes all together. I think so.
You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. I mean, it's like saying you don't want to read the Ecclesiastes. You don't want to read Song of Songs. You don't want to read Psalms. Why wouldn't you want to read Psalms? Is Psalms not Torah? Is Ecclesiastes not Torah? It's all parables. It's all emotional. It's all. I don't know if it's Aggadah, but it wouldn't fall in that category, would it? But I don't know.
What is Aggada?
What is the exact definition?
They say it's like Jewish folklore, but that's not even the right way of looking at it.
No, that can't be the definition. No, that's Midrash. Midrash means folklore. Midrash actually translates to fairy tales. No offense to anyone listening.
Huh. It's the text recited at the Seder on the first 2 nights of the Jewish Passover. No, it's Haggadah. That's Haggadah. No, a legend, a parable, an anecdote used to illustrate a point of the written law in the Talmud.
Like a parable. Yeah, parable, yeah.
So the Midrash is Haggadah.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know.
I like.
I mean that's what that's all. I mean, you have to. I mean, you have to learn the parables. You have to know. You have to know those things, don't you? I mean, I love reading about. I mean, some of the things that I read about. You're reading something, and then it says, and then it gives you this sort of little insert of what a rabbi said to another rabbi, to help you understand what you're reading. Well, what's wrong with that? It helps you understand, you know, his master said to him this particular day to do this. And then, okay, well, I guess you could technically say it's not binding. It's not like, you know, But that's the whole thing to it. No, I don't really know. I can't. It's such a difficult question to answer. That's such a weird thing. I never even thought of it like I never thought of it like two separate things. Welcome to the room, Rabbi. By the way, I saw you sneak in. I just never seen it as two separate things. It's so weird. Go ahead.
Hello, Gab. I learned something interesting from this week's Parsha.
Yeah, let's talk about the Parsha. There we go.
I'm going to turn you up, Ross. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, let's see. Couple of things. Okay, let's go with Abraham was the first Jew. We'll go with that for now. Okay.
Who was the first Jew?
Abraham.
Oh, Abraham. I'm sorry.
I'm going down this thought line, right?
Right.
And Lot was right there with him every step of the way up until they parted. And then Lot goes towards Sodom. Abraham goes the opposite direction. As for all intents and purposes, they're both on the same page with Torah at this point. Agreed?
You're on the same page with what?
With Torah.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, they've been hanging out together until that little, I don't know, feud came up with the cattle, whatever, livestock. So they kind of put a little distance between them. So this is just a particular line of thought I want to try to walk you down. I'm not saying right or wrong, just thought possibility, thought experiment, if you will. When the angel showed up and told Abraham exactly what was about to happen, and then he says, well, you know, if there's 50, and then 45, and then 40, coming down on the numbers, I had to stop and think, or just entertain the possibility, is he trying to find out or feel out just how successful Lot may or may not have been in making souls? Or, okay, or is it the possibility that he's just concerned that Lot might not get out of there himself? Okay, you see the possibilities here.
Okay.
Okay, so Lot, as we know, was extracted. We know the story. And that's one line of thinking. Now, if we're going down the not supposed to be making converts, what is the purpose of the question 50, 45, 40? Obviously, he's looking for something. Because he's saying you would not destroy the righteous along with the wicked. Now, if there were righteous, what would you say, potentially? Were they converts, or were they just righteous among the nations? Open question.
That's a good question, yeah.
And then to further that point, when Abraham is meeting with Abimelech and Phicol at Beersheba, the well of seven, Abimelech, his words to Abraham say, Hashem, God, is with you in all that you do. He's showing a level of awareness of the God that Abraham is worshiping. He recognizes that God is working with him. But if, for all intents and purposes, we do not know that Abimelech nor Phicol, quote unquote, converted. But they do make a covenant of peace at the well, and they agree to go their separate ways in peace. Would you be tempted to say that Abimelech would be considered righteous among the nations? If not, what was he?
That's a good question, you know. I think we put a positive spin on things and say he was a little more than righteous among the nations.
Where would you put him? How would you place him?
Well, at this point, the sign of the covenant's already been established.
Right?
So was the 8 days was also passed on to Lot. So on the 8th day, his children.
But Lot did not have male children, only 2 daughters.
Yep. That's right, only 2. Well, made a covenant of peace
With Abimelech. You've got the Parsha. Read what Abimelech says to Abraham.
Why have you, or what are these 7 female lambs which you have placed by themselves? He said, you are going to take these 7 female lambs from my hand as a proof that I dug this well. The place was therefore named Beersheba, well of the oath, because the 2 of them took an oath. They formed a covenant in Beersheba. And Shiva is also Sheva, right?
Right.
7.
The well of 7 or the oath of 7. 7 ewe lambs. Come on.
What else could there be?
But was it Beersheba when Hagar was there both times? She went there twice, remember?
I mean, obviously, if we take it literally, then they're establishing the covenant of 7. No, they're
unless you've got something more, workable. But that seems to be what's implied here.
we're it's like the ceremony with the town where they put out the ribbon and then they take a photo op and they cut it together. It's like back then they dug wells together, right? And they I hear 7, have Mazel Tov,
Dug wells, planted an orchard for wayfarers. He set up a place for hospitality, a self-sustaining hospitality oasis, a haven for anyone who wants to come take. And he leaves. And that's like, wow,
To answer your question about Lot, whether he was able to get converts, I think the answer would be pretty clearly no, since even he wasn't counted among the righteous. Remember, at the end of the whole haggling, they couldn't find anyone in Sodom and Gomorrah that was righteous, which implies that Lot was one of the people that lived in Sodom and Gomorrah. He wasn't a righteous person.
Then why would he not have stayed and suffered the destruction? Why was he extracted? Because Abraham's question was, will you destroy the righteous along with the wicked?
that was Noah's dilemma in the movie.
I think it's out of the facts. Oh, sorry again. Go ahead.
No, I'm hearing Noah's story. The end of all flesh has come before me. So preserve some.
Yeah, I think it's just out of the fact that Lot was just his his brother's son. He was his nephew. He just saved him because he was blood related.
Could the angels, the men who came to him, have been a test? Because what I always found would save, I thought Lot had assimilated. That was and it was only on Abraham's merit that the angel even came to him. But the fact that he was hospitable, he was the only, his household was the only hospitable household to the angels in the entire city.
True.
Everybody else wanted to bugger him. Lot.
Okay, I have a midrash to kind of maybe mirror this covenant of 7 at the well. Let's see if we can try.
But that's not binding.
It's funny. It's funny.
Sorry.
Now I forgot. Okay, so it says in the midrash that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because they violated all 7 of the B'nai Noah commandments. And the greatest of the 7 they violated, it says in the midrash, is charity. So the question arises: is that charity is not part of the 7, isn't it? It's prohibition against idol worship, blasphemy, murder, sexual immorality, theft, animal abuse, and courts of justice. So that here's the answer: charity is the fundamental principle of courts of justice. It's the very foundation of society. It says in the Chumash that it was illegal to give charity. That's why they murdered the woman who gave bread to the homeless person. So it says in the Torah, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah executed a woman who would give bread, right, to a homeless person. They executed her, killed her. And this is what God decided, time to get Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's get rid of it.
Okay, but again,
sort of reflection.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you going to say, Ross?
The prohibition against stealing. What is, if you will, the rectification of stealing? Okay, if you don't steal, you don't doing. But if you give charity, then that's a positive.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, charity is seen as a matter of tzedakah, is seen as a matter of justice.
Right. Tzedakah means justice. Yeah.
Tzedakah is yes.
Right.
It's you're giving justice to the poor. You're giving justice to the orphan, the widow, the refuge.
Right.
You're giving them their due. It's now it's in perspective. See, that's what Aggada is good for.
Like there's another midrash that says that the angels that came to, because it says Lot took in the 3 angels into his house as like a hospitable act, but it makes it pretty clear that Lot was kind of a shitty person. He was kind of an asshole, and so if the law of the land was you can't really be hospitality, can't really invite someone in your house and feed them, and that's against the law, right? So the question is, why would Lot do such a thing? Why would Lot risk his life to do such a thing? It says that the angels was dressed up as like rich Arab merchants, and so he thought he can get some sort of, he thought he can like kind of come in, work something. He's try to work something over, get them money somehow, steal, try to you know what I mean? Some sort of Ponzi scheme. It kind of alludes to the fact that he's trying to work something out of these angels, because all he's thinking is, how can I rob these people? How can I get money from them?
I don't quite see it that way. But the ironic thing about part of the story with Lot is, if you remember, he was sitting at the city gate when the angels showed up.
Right, yeah.
Constantly you find if a judge is anywhere in the city, he's always at the gate, right? The judges are at the gates. which is where he was seated when he saw the angels approaching. And then after he took the angels in and fought off the pressing crowd, the ironic thing was the words that came out of their mouth, those that wanted to know his guests, was, look, this dude is a sojourner among us, and now he wants to be a judge? Well, he was a judge. That's what he was doing at the gate.
Yeah, Lot was, so to speak, mayor. He was wasn't he the mayor of the town, of Sodom and Gomorrah?
I don't know that he was mayor, but he was,
well, mayor, governor, or something like that. He was like the town leader. He's Trump. He was Donald Trump, president. I don't know. Lot Towers.
No.
He had Lot Towers on Pennsylvania Boulevard.
more like Rodney Dangerfield. No respect. I get no respect.
Sorry, all these Lot jokes. I apologize. Disrespecting the man.
No, but I started looking at it a little deeper and taking Lot a little bit more as a real, not just Abraham left Haran and Lot came along, and Abraham went into Egypt and Lot tagged along. And Abraham went back to Canaan and Lot tagged along.
That's kind of like what you get, though. That's kind of like how the Torah is read, no?
I know, that's how it's worded.
Yeah.
But I started looking at this tag along a little bit deeper, and instead of the guy's just along for the ride, he's riding Abraham's coattails. No.
Right, yeah.
I didn't see him for who he was. Give the guy a little credit,
Sure. I mean, it's sort of, I guess, painted as kind of like the, I don't know if the word villain, but the antagonist or something. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
But you figure Lot's portion of the story, and then you look at Abimelech, and then you look at Hagar, okay, for all intents and purposes, as far as we know, none of these individuals were in the camp, so to speak. But they were all associated with Abraham. What do they say about Hagar? She accepted the 7, and that made her a suitable wife for Abraham.
Right. And it's possible that she came back as Keturah. She might be the same person.
She was. Was. Because the backstory is Isaac spent a lot of his time with Hagar, teaching her at least Torah at the time. And then Abraham is sending Og, who at this point we know is Eliezer. So Og came off the ark, joined Abraham, he became Eliezer. He goes and finds Isaac a wife, and while he's out looking for a wife for Isaac...
Is that true that Og was Eliezer? Abraham's faithful slave?
That's the story, yes.
Huh. I didn't ever realize that. What's the source of that?
He's the same Og that is the king of Bashan at the time of Moses.
Right, Moses cuts his head off or something, right?
Yeah, it's the same Og that was clinging to the ark at the time of the flood.
What's the source of him being Eliezer?
The commentaries are in the Chumash in different places along the way, but you can look up Og, and everything that I've ever seen is he's the same person that hung on the ark, who after the flood
That's interesting, because he goes back and forth. He goes back and forth from being. That's interesting.
Right.
I just find that a little peculiar.
Right.
I never realized that until now. I never knew that. I never knew that.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's good. Okay.
but you know,
I knew
all
he
you-
hung off the ark. I knew later on he warred against Moshe and led armies with the Amalekites to try to kill Jews. But I didn't remember him being with Avraham. So the question goes, what the hell happened then? How can he go from being Eliezer, Avraham's faithful slave, and to the point where he loved Avraham and he was going to get Avraham's inheritance, and if he didn't have a son, he was going to get everything, and then he's out looking for a wife, Rivka, and she, if she draw, if I see the signs of the covenant that she will be the wife, and she gives my water to my camels, and it's all this, he seems like this guy Eliezer. It just seems like this pretty cool dude, and then it's just like that's Og. Like what? Like that's so interesting. Matter of fact, it's so interesting.
Well,
go ahead and look at that.
In Exodus, I think it was Exodus. He's the Rephilim. He's referred to, which is the same. And the commentary said it was the same race as the Nephilim, or Nephilim, whatever, back in Genesis 6. And maybe, so he wasn't the same race per se. The thing about them is they would lead people. People would be in awe of them. And they liked that. Oh. I'm just wondering if, if this guy's living as long as he has, how long did Abraham live?
Abraham lives 178 years or something like that.
And 500 years later, he's still, 500-600 years later, whatever, he's still around. I don't know. Maybe he had a. I'm just saying, maybe he had a tendency he wanted to be the big fish in a little pond. If you're with Avraham, you're equal. Everybody's equal. One way or another, you know what I mean.
Consider the backstory, okay?
All right.
Let's look at a potential backstory with Og. He's there at the time of Noah. He knows that Noah's building an ark. Something's up, The flood starts, so he clings to the ark. He sees what God did. 14 generations later, Abraham comes along and he is making souls. Og becomes Eliezer. Now, at this point, Eliezer is set in a position that he's going to inherit Abraham. Well, things are looking pretty nice for him. But he goes off. He finds a wife for Sarah. He's thinking it's probably a long shot, but it happens. So he comes back. He fulfilled his vow to Abraham. Now Isaac does have a wife. And Eliezer says, I get nothing. So he walks away and becomes Og again. Potential backstory.
So he's kind of. So I guess the psychiatry. If I want to be armchair psychiatrist here, he was kind of like slighted by Jews. I guess I don't know. However you want to.
No, I'm just saying it was an honest thing. He vowed that he would go and find a wife for Isaac. It happened. He brings the woman back. Isaac gets married. His vow is fulfilled, and for all intents and purposes, he is inheriting nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? So, his vow is fulfilled. Potentially, he is saying, I'm just going to walk away.
But how can you go from that? I'm reading here in Berahot 54a, it says, as the Jews crossed the Jordan River to enter the Holy Land, King of Bashar Og is cutting down Jews as they cross the Jordan. He's cutting them down in his armies. I don't know. I don't understand how you go from that to that.
Ooh.
How does a person like mental facilities? I'm just thinking,
Probably.
He's gone to someone. A potential Jew, a convert, or whatever you want to say, a ger. I mean, he's a faithful slave to Abraham, and then now he's at the Jordan River cutting down Kindleak as they cross the Jordan. I don't understand the psychiatry of it. Whatever. How?
Look at Nebuchadnezzar. At first, Babylon was great. At first,
man, that just perplexes me. That kills me, man. Oof, that's like rough. Right in my hiskas, whatever they say. Right in my insides.
Look at the Midianites. They took in Moses. He became a part of their community. Their high priest took him as his son-in-law. And look what happened to them. They became enemies of Israel. The one people in the wilderness who took Moses in, and his father-in-law taught him everything. He was high priest.
Right.
There's Gad puts on their empires ruin themselves. Power corrupts and trickles down. That's my thing. I think that honestly, he wanted to be a big fish in a little pond. Because there he was in Canaan, and you know, we looked as grasshoppers in their eyes. He could have bred, you know, maybe he liked being the king and the big man, you know, being a leader and not being a second fiddle to little Abraham over here. He might have gotten cocky, and that's 500 years. That's a long time. You know, how long was it from Abraham to the Exodus? That's a long time to live.
Yeah.
And he'd be alone. He's the only one of his kind. He wasn't allowed on the ark. He certainly had every opportunity to get into the ark, but there was no 2x2 with him. So he, you know, God obviously allowed him to cling. But yeah, I don't know. Nebuchadnezzar, how art thou fallen from heaven, O day star, son of morning? You know, you were a bright, shining, you know, heavenly person, and you fell. How far from grace did you fall? I think, after hearing what I just heard about him chopping up Israelites as they crossed the Jordan, I'd never heard that before. That just turns me off.
To be honest, I'd never heard that either, because the story I always got was he was king of Bashan. Moses tried to pass through the land, said no. Og did. Eventually there was a war, and he wound up being killed in the war. But I don't know that he was actually standing there killing Jews as they crossed the Jordan, because they just come out of Egypt.
What was it? What was the source on that, John? Halacha Code?
Barakot.
Barakot.
Berakhot 54B. 54A 14. But I don't know. I'm a little, I don't know. It's just an interesting. Sorry, I'm not talking much because I'm sort of reading. Trying to.
Good.
I'm soaking it up.
It says here that King Og, the way he survived the flood was that he hung off the ark, and that Noah doled out his food for him every day through a hole in the ark, and ark in return promised that he would serve his descendants as slaves. So he would serve as a slave. So that makes sense, right? He's Eliezer, the slave.
Ooh, maybe he was enslaved by bad people. Ooh.
I mean that sounds really metaphorical. Like he gave him bread through a hole in the ark. I mean that kind of like, That's very like woo, you know, mystical woo.
I just want to kind of go on the record here and saying that if you're being enslaved, odds are it's usually by bad people, just by the nature of, you know, just by the nature of what slavery is, you know.
So how can we say, you know, but Eliezer was Avraham's faithful slave then? Is Avraham a bad person?
I don't think it says slave. I think it says servant.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Depends on what the word.
Well, I mean, in ancient times, the difference between a slave and a servant is not so wide as you might think. I mean, basically, you're just nicer to one.
That's I guess that's like the politically correct way of putting it, huh? I get nicer to one.
PC, that's like brick, drop, boom.
Yeah.
It's a bowling ball off the roof.
Yeah.
You know?
Only he could put it that way, not me. I couldn't get away with it.
Yeah, well, I got you here. I have a question. Maybe you can shed some light on. There's a film, a documentary on Netflix. It's called One of Us.
Yeah, it's gotten some controversy. Yeah, why? What's up?
Well, I'm watching it, and I got to admit, about halfway through it, it was a little too dramatic and too quiet. I wanted more input. I'm an old-fashioned documentary where they just tell you and give you info. There's a lot of drama to it, so I had a hard time sticking with it. What I'm wondering is, can you not change tribes? Can you not go to another community as Jews and try to figure themselves out? Why is this common? I mean, when it's like they're
Oh, like why is it all or nothing? Is that what you're?
And this is just with a small, but they're Haredi, right? Or,
yeah, those are Hasidic people, which is I guess you'd say a subgrouping of Haredi. Yeah.
Okay. Very, very close knit. Folk in the middle of Goyville.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What are we talking about?
There's a movie. It's about people who left the community, and a few people, and they've documented their story, and they put it together. It's on Netflix. It's called One of Us.
Okay. Oh. Wow.
And yeah, like I was saying, apparently there's some controversy. Rabs, tagged me in it and said you need to watch this.
Oh, there's an Orthodox Judaism, and the people left the community.
Yeah, I see them in New York, and
they go full secular. They just drop the whole everything.
Yeah,
it's about the kids stay with it. The courts are always going to favor the community over the individual who wants to leave it, especially when it comes to children and the things that the women have to go through. And it's a little dramatic, if you ask me. And it paints. I don't know if it paints a really good picture. That's my thing, but on the reality aspect, what could they not? Couldn't they go to the Kabbat house and say, I mean, if they leave that, is it not allowed to go from one? I don't know what to say, bunch or sect. I don't know if I'm going to shut up and hopefully I make some sense there.
Well, first of all, the movie is kind of set up in a certain way to make you feel a certain way about it. It's not meant to be a flattering portrayal at all. And the lady that directed, I believe she also wrote it. Maybe she just directed it. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really matter. She has made some comments that have led most people to conclude that she's pretty hostile to the community. It doesn't play through very well in the documentary, but she said some things that have been, in my opinion, fairly ignorant.
Is the woman director herself used to be Orthodox, or?
No, I don't think she's even Jewish.
Okay. Good.
It's just a little pet topic that she started writing on, and that developed into a documentary. Funny how that happens. People write something in a journal, and a year later they make a movie about it. But not at any rate, in theory, could they, once they leave, could they go somewhere else? Yeah. The thing is, most of them don't want to. I mean, they're so, and this is my main critique with some of these communities, these people are so burnt out on it that they want nothing to do with it anymore.
So these people just get burned out on Judaism, and they
don't get burnt out on Judaism per se. They get burnt out on this draconian interpretation of it that makes their lives unnecessarily harsher than they need to be.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. I never seen that. I never heard of this documentary. Maybe I'll look
Do you have
it up.
Netflix?
I do. I have Netflix. Yeah.
It's on there. It's called One of Us.
One of Us. Okay. One of Us.
I'll see if I can check that out.
I like to say, you're one of us.
Yeah, well, I
Everyone
mean, just don't walk around in a circle chanting and around someone. They're going to think you're a cult. One of us. One of us. One of us.
Hi.
Back on a slightly humorous note with Og. Not been looking at my screen. Just on
Shalom
a quick.
Aleichem, Frank.
Yes, hello, Frank.
Yeah, my mic was off. Shalom, Frank. Welcome, as always. Go ahead, Ross.
Just a quick little humorous note, about Abraham and Og. I get this mental picture of the equivalent of Yoda taking his cane and whacking on the shins of Luke Skywalker. He's way bigger than me, whack, whack.
That's funny, yeah. It's just an interesting.
It's not even in the question. It's not even in the cards. They wouldn't think to go to another community, because this is all they know. I just wonder if they're so insular. Why don't they just move over there to Israel and get comfortable?
Because most of them are anti-Zionist.
Which group is? What group are we talking about? What group are they?
There's a couple different ones in the movie.
Oh, okay.
And most of them are not going to end up in a place like Chabad because of differences or things they've been taught about it.
What are they? What is it? Satmar? What are we talking about? Satmar?
It's in New York.
There's a few bells.
Oh, okay. Gul, the other one. What's the other one? Gul.
Gar,
yeah.
So, I mean, even a conservative synagogue. I mean, it just seems, there was no freedom. It's like, why are you giving up God? Why are you ditching everything that makes you who you are? I mean, I wouldn't.
That's what conservative views do.
I hope they come back in one way or another.
yeah.
I wish them well. I'm not knocking anybody. I don't want to put anybody down, but couldn't there be you would think there'd be something there,
Yeah, and some do. I've seen it happen. Like, I know people that have done that. But here's the thing. You're raised in this very, very insular community that doesn't teach you about reality at all. In any way. It's just, you laugh. It's true. I come from one of these communities, okay? The highest level of education I have achieved. Yes, I went to college. I didn't finish. I have a GED. I have my quote unquote good enough diploma. But I went to a school, a private Jewish boys' school. This is in the States, of course. It was completely private. It didn't cost anything to go there. But here's the thing. It's just religious studies. From about the age of that, you start going when you're 3 or 4 years old until you're 18. It's 6 days a week. It's 8 to 12 hours a day. And there's no math. There's no history. There's no science. There's nothing. There's nothing else. I was 16 years old sneaking away to the public library to study for my GED. I was 16 years old and discovering for the first time the name of the guy on the dollar bill.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a completely, and so they finally break out of that a little bit, and they see there's a whole new world outside of these communities.
That's
and
true.
You try convincing people to stay.
Yeah, I talk. It's mind-boggling. You talk to the rabbis' kids, and they can't name you elements of like aluminum and titanium. They can't really name, how the water cycle works. It's rough because they view it as being goyish.
Yep. Many of
It's
them,
Goyish. Why would you want to learn it?
right?
Why would
Many
you
of
wanna learn
them, even in the States, even in places like, Borough Park, parts of Queens, Crown Heights, many of these people have reached adulthood in a major American city and cannot understand English because they've been raised only with Yiddish and nothing else. I mean, a lot of them are basically non-functional outside of these little communities.
But how do we square this away with something like what Maimonides taught, that it's a Jew's obligation, a duty, matter of fact, to learn math and science?
Yeah, exactly. So at some point, some things fell by the wayside. I can actually pinpoint and tell you when that was, but yeah, at one point, it was actually considered a very positive virtue to have a secular education.
Right. I'm sure during his time, it was probably the same problem coming up. It was probably Jews weren't educated then.
Well, they were. They were very, especially in his community. In Spain and North Africa, Jews were exceedingly educated.
Oh, okay.
They were the top educated.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the most brilliant minds. Maimonides was like a brilliant physician. He was a brilliant.
He was the top doctor in the country.
Best,
He was the doctor to the king.
That's true.
Yeah. And he wrote books on. He wrote a lot of books about it. Some of which we still have. Some of which unfortunately are lost. But and then you go even until someone like the Gra, a very, very brilliant man, exceedingly brilliant man. But shortly after that, you get, and it's kind of a backlash. It's a kind of a spit back in the face at the world. You have two things happening at once. In Europe, in Eastern Europe, and also in Western Europe to a greater degree, you have the European Enlightenment, which is kind of like the boom of thought, and where civic society in Western Europe and Americas gets a lot of its thought from today. And with that, shortly thereafter came the Reform movement, and there was a rabbi, Rabbi Moses Sofer. The Khatam Sofer is what he's called in history, who, in order to stem this tide of secularization, he came up with this edict, Horesh Asur Min HaTorah. Hadash Asur Min HaTorah. Anything new is forbidden by the Torah. Any new information or new information, any type of outside knowledge that doesn't come from Torah is completely and entirely forbidden. There is no innovation or outside thought allowed. And that really is the beginning of what we call the Haredi movement that we see as today. It is not an ancient thing.
Well, yeah.
Self-preservation.
In a very shoot yourself in the foot kind of way, yes.
Cut your nose off to spite your face, sort of thinking, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I would think, and so because of Zionism, they don't go home.
No.
But they can go home.
Many of them do. Some do, some don't. It's not a monolithic. It depends on which group. Where
they're very anti-Zionist. Those communities.
Many are, some are not.
Chabad is very Zionist, I noticed.
Chabad is more of an exception, though, than the rule.
It's very odd, yeah. It is kind of an exception.
Yeah. There are other groups that are kind of in the middle, like Bells, for example. They have people that moved to Israel, and then you have people like Satmar and a few others, Odos Aharon, something like that.
So yeah.
Let's hope we can all go home.
Well, I mean, there's an entire Hasidic town not that far from where you're at, John. It's called Kiryas Yol. It's a village in New York.
Is that the ultra Orthodox community?
They're 100% Satmar.
Oh.
They live in the middle of nowhere in New York.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that was what tipped me off about that documentary. is when they used the term ultra orthodox. That was in the very beginning of the documentary.
Right.
Ultra Orthodox just means you're complete. I mean, absolutely, completely cut off. You don't get anything on the. It's like a libertarian wet dream, sort of. You know, it's like a. It's kind of hardcore, man. Oof.
It's basically, if they had a message to give to the world, I'm not you. I don't want to be you. I don't dress like you. I don't eat like you. I don't speak like you. Now leave me the hell alone.
Yeah.
Basically, what it boils down to.
And at the end of the day, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Too, you got to throw that in. Not interested.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Go ahead, Ross.
I think I read somewhere there in New York, there's a little town or community by the name of Madison. And I think it was they were taking a vote amongst the Jewish community that this Madison was going to be a separate, isolated community away from. I didn't get a chance to read the article. I got snatched away from my desk, but
Muncie, you mean Muncie? Muncie.
Huh?
I think the town was Muncie. No, Madison.
I think it said Madison. Like I said, I just briefly got the article up. Was trying to read it. I got snatched away from my desk, and I couldn't recover it.
There is a Madison, New York, but I don't know of any Jews that live there.
I know Muncie, New York is very a lot of Jews.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. At any rate, okay.
Yeah. No, your point. I get your point. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Hey, Frank, how you been, man?
I'm dying over here, man. I have this exam coming up. I've been studying like nonstop.
You look tired.
It's for my license. I haven't been sleeping. So I'm taking a break and I'm listening to you guys. So
I wish you the best in it, man.
No, thanks, man.
Yeah, good luck on that.
You don't need my blessing, Frank. You'll get. I'll go. You go from an A to an E with my blessing.
I'll give you the Klingon word. Gapla means success.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck.
What's the Hebrew word for success for gapla? To wish someone success in something.
That would be.
How about God's? Go ahead. No. What did anybody say something? Oh.
Hazacha. Yeah.
Haslacha.
Asachla. Oh. It sounds like a Klingon word. Like a
yes. What's wrong with Klingon words?
I think in Arabic is falah. Success.
Allah.
Falah.
Sounds like
Halacha.
similar to the word halacha. It's
Yeah.
almost similar.
Yeah.
Falah.
Probably has the etymology of the word probably connects somehow.
The bread.
It's
About a third of the vocabulary in Hebrew and Arabic is pretty much the same.
No step. Salam alaikum. Alaikum salam. Shalom alaikum. Shalom,
I always found that fascinating that when you respond to shalom alaikum, you say alaikum shalom, you say it the other way around. I like that.
That's good stuff.
Is there like a logistic reason why you say alaikum shalom in response?
Peace be unto you also, I think.
Oh, okay. You just to you too. Okay.
Yeah, to you too.
Yeah.
So what is the topic of discussion today?
We're in we're beyond Vieira. It's Chaya Sarah, it's Genesis 23. But the topic of the week is Aggadah versus Halacha. And we kind of went off topic, which is great. because I don't know anything about the topic, which is why I brought it up. And it's that when Noahides come into this, when noobs come here, the Aggada is always, now I want to say frowned upon, but it's never really accepted in conversation. They're very big on law, very big on 7 laws. And I get, I get the idea. I understand. I can comprehend the notion why it's done, that you would teach somebody the law first. You start a child on, what is it? Leviticus. You don't start them at Genesis. You learn the law before you learn it, but the folklore, if you will, you can call it folklore, yes, fairy tales, whatever. It's never really, it's like it's always kind of frowned upon. People, it seemed to instinctively in the Noahide world.
I'm raising my hand. Hold on, I gotta figure out something.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in school. What is Aggada? I can't even pronounce it.
Aggada.
Aggada.
Aggada is the folklore. Basically, if you want to call it folklore.
Stories. Halacha would be the legal, like the Constitution, right? It would be like the Constitution, halacha, and then the other part would be like a story about George Washington chopping down a cherry tree and trying to figure out how that applies to the Constitution.
Are these stories meant to? What are the stories meant to do?
Help you understand and learn what the Torah is really saying.
Okay, so
like parables would like be an example.
We got a lot of that. Yeah, definitely. Okay.
So that's the topic of the hangout, is that like why can't we use parables, so to speak, as a way to help us? Right? Is that what you're trying to get at, James?
That's why there's a question mark after it. It's not, I don't want to say folklore, but you know what I'm saying when we say parables, but these are Torah, it's part of the Torah. John was saying that over Chabad, it's just part of the Torah. It's not a thing. And I noticed with Noah, and I think the world of the Ger is a perfect example. It came out, this isn't halacha, damn it. And they put the fist down and get all mad. And you're teaching strange, weird stuff that has nothing to do with Noahide law. Noahide law, damn it. And it's just something, I find it to be it's like taking a swig of water when you're taking a horse pill. It helps you digest, if you will. It helps you to better grasp things sometimes, to understand the validity of why this happens in the Torah.
Well, the parables are meant for us to really understand, because if you say it in a very methodological way, you're gonna just throw people off. They're just, these are just a bunch of rules. But when you bring in meanings and parables and stories, like it's like an aha moment. They also use that a lot in therapy. They will use like parables in order for people to understand certain concepts. So parables are extremely important. That's why we have like stories. Like we have a lot of the ones that we have are like almost like comedy. They make you laugh, but they have like a significant meaning to them on why things, because sometimes you can't just be like straightforward.
Yeah.
So it's just, a lot of people are not going to get it. They have to have a story to relate to. That's why I think we have movies, right? Like Star Wars and things like that, in order for us to really give, they're kind of symbolic, synonymous with certain things, what goes on in our lives. But yeah, especially for kids, or younger people. I love listening to stuff.
Rabbi says over the side chat, he says a lot of people prioritize Haggadah, is that how you properly pronounce it, over the law, halacha, and I call them morons. I think there's sort of, we get in kind of like a little murky water, like how far do we take it? I mean, to me, I like, I kind of like that we try to patch holes and we're trying to figure out the story of the Torah and trying to like, what really happened here? Was the king of Jerusalem really Shem, the son of Noah. I mean, that's kind of cool how we kind of put that in, and we're trying to, figure out, all these things. I like it. I mean, for me, I want to know more. Tell me more. I find it fascinating. But I guess there's a lot of people, maybe the rabbi would be one of them. It would be like, at the end of the day, we kind of have to like make a distinction. Look, at the end of the day, we can't really say it's one. I think this might be what we're getting to. We can't just 100% certify it that it's possible. That it is. It's just only a possibility. It's not a certainty. It's just a possibility. And I think that's what we're talking about. Is a lot of people make it certain, like this is absolutely the way it is. King of Jerusalem, Shem. Okay, maybe it was Bob the Builder. Who knows? Maybe Bob the Builder on PBS. Maybe he was the king of Jerusalem. I don't know. But I think that's what we're going with. When people try substituting authoritative halacha for tales, I have a problem. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is this a problem? Has this been something that's happened before, where people put the Aggada over the halacha?
It happens every day. Every day. And I see it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Okay. Actually, this kind of segues into what we were talking about earlier. You talk about how some Hasidic sects, Hasidic groups are anti-Zionist. They justify it from an Aggadic story. The story about what's called the 3 Oaths. And from that, they derive a prohibition on living in the land of Israel until Mashiach comes. Even though there's nothing in Torah about it, there's nothing in the Bible about it, it is literally one little story, non-binding, non-authoritative story in the Talmud that they drive this from.
And they write law based on a story.
Yes, and that's well. Anytime you see
it becomes a minhag. Is that what you're saying? It becomes
no, not a minhag. There's a difference. These people will tell you that it's the law that you cannot do this thing.
Oh, absolutely outright halacha.
Right, that's what they tell you. And then you look at the source and you're like, nah, that fails the bullshit detector.
Yeah.
And then, well, look, anytime you see a rabbi, anyone paskening from the Zohar is a Aggada. The Zohar.
I sometimes do that though, Rabbi. Sometimes I go and I'm thinking to myself, talking about the bullshit alarm. I sometimes go to my rabbi and I go, well, is that obligated? I don't like. Sometimes he'll say something and he tells me something to do something. And I go, am I obligated to do it? And he like kind of like smirks at me and smiles like, why would I even ask? Why would I even dare to ask if it is like?
Yeah, well, I mean, you see it all the time. It irritates the hell out of me. Well, let me ask you a very delicate question, John. Have you converted?
No.
No? Okay. That's still like in the works?
It's still, I at this point, it's like, we're like doing 360 the other way now. It's like I don't even know where we are.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay. Well, I mean.
To be honest, to be upfront with you, I don't know.
No, okay. All right. So, do you put on tefillin every day?
No, not every day, no.
Not every day? Okay. So, you know that the common practice that during Chol HaMoed, the standard practice is you don't put on tefillin, right?
Chol HaMoed, what is that again?
So, like the intermediate days in a holiday like Pesach.
Intermediate days, right. Okay, yeah.
So, right? You're not supposed to put on tefillin?
You're not supposed to, right. You're not supposed to, yeah. That's what I've been told.
You know where that comes from? That comes from the Zohar. Halacha says you have to put on tefillin during Chol HaMoed, but no one does anymore because the Zohar says you shouldn't.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So you do put on tefillin?
Absolutely.
So during the days of Sukkot, we were supposed to be putting on tefillin?
During the intermediate days, yeah.
Not the 2 first days and 2 last days. Well,
right.
I guess the second one would have been some Torah, but the days in between we were supposed to be doing it.
Correct.
Wow. No one was.
Exactly. No, hardly anybody does. Most people do not. In the Gemara, this is what it says. in Shulchan Aruch, this is what it says, and Rambam, this is what it says. But so here comes the Zohar. You shouldn't do it on Hol HaMoed. Oh, we're not going to do it on Hol HaMoed anymore because of this book written by some numbskull in Spain in the 1500s.
But the Persian Sephardic guys, they don't put it in either. I don't think they don't go by the Zohar.
Oh, they do. Sephardim are worse.
They're worse?
They base their entire outlook on it. Basically.
Oh, I never realized that. Okay. I learned two new things today. King Og was the loyal, faithful servant of Abraham, and you got to put tefillin on in the more often. Shit. Damn.
That's
Hol HaMoed.
So that's why they want Noahides to be. Damn it. And
So you wrap tefillin in between the holidays. You do all that. Huh?
Oh yeah, of course.
So you just do Shabbos and holidays, literally Shabbos and holidays.
Right.
No tefillin.
The only days I don't do tefillin, correct. And there are a lot of things that Jews are supposed to do that they should be doing, that are in Halacha, and there are a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing that they are doing. A lot of things. I mean, no one. Right.
Like another thing, the rabbi goes to me, you can kind of manipulate. He was telling me that you can. The Alter Rebbe says, and he was saying, I think he was quoting the Zohar. Well, you can sort of still, 18 minutes after Shabbos has started, you can still kind of do things that might be questionable on Shabbos. I'm like thinking to myself, 18 minutes after Shabbos, what is he talking about? That must have been like a Zohar thing.
Yeah, and look, I'm not trying to offend anybody. Who is the Alter Rebbe? The Alter Rebbe cannot make binding decisions upon the entire people. I mean, the Sanhedrin can do that. We haven't had one in 1,500 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're right. It's some things. It's just that's a good way of putting it. Like the bullshit detector goes off. It's like it starts flashing. It happens. It's so funny you put it that way. Yeah.
Gotta bring up a BS detector that from the goy.
Go ahead.
Okay, the issue of resting the ger, resting your handmaiden, resting your livestock, your work animals, whatever. And I was recently told, and this was like it shocked the hell out of me, is that nowadays you can get your servant to cook you a grilled cheese sandwich on Shabbos. That you can make your slave work on Shabbos.
Who says this?
Oh, it was I don't want to name it. I could name names. And it was a couple people I heard say it. I just heard it from one.
Let me clarify a point.
Okay.
Let me clarify a point. So is the slave owned by a Jew or is the slave owned by a Noahide?
This would be a Jew.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed to ask.
It was on the subject of the Shabbos Code.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
You're not allowed to actually come out and directly ask someone to do something for you on Shabbos, even a goy. You're not allowed to do that. If you have some type of like pre-arranged thing where like you agree that with your neighbor, okay, you'll come over at 10 o'clock and you'll light this candle and blah, 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 blah. That's one thing. But you're not allowed to ask someone to do that for you on Shabbos.
Yeah. It's as if you did it. It mitigates the purpose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even if it's a goy, you can't do that.
But you can ask him Friday morning. You can make an arrangement on Friday morning and have him do it.
100%. 100%. You can be like, okay, that's a nice. Okay, Leroy, come on over later. And turn off my oven for me. I'd appreciate that. Or you could. So I want you to turn on this lamp for me. Okay, you could do that, whatever. But you can't, after sundown, shout across the yard, hey, Leroy, come on over here. I need you to turn off my radio. It's not how it works.
Okay. would this fall under, if this happened on Shabbos, would this fall under the category that the non-Jew has to do some type of work, has to flip the light switch, does it, can't achieve Shabbos as a Jew, so shouldn't even try. That you have to do at least one thing, at least flip a light switch, light a candle.
Right. Yes.
Stir a pot.
Write a note. Tear a piece of something.
Play a tuning instrument. Okay, now see, yeah, because when I read the Bible, when I read my Chumash, it says rest them.
That's yeah.
But
it says that pretty clear, doesn't it? It says rest. You rest. Your maidservant rests. Your manservant rests. Your donkey rests.
Yeah, you can rest the
people
animals.
who converted in your household rest. It's like makes it pretty clear that like no one's working on Shabbos. It's like
yeah, absolutely.
This is what you can't go into. I'm sorry. What'd you say? I talked over you. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it's very clear. The pasuk is very clear about that. You're not, anyone in your household should not work on Shabbos. I mean, it's very clear. You let this person rest. Let this person. You let everybody in your household rest. How do you fuck that up? Yet people do. Pardon my French.
Okay, so I'm not wrong in thinking I'm not wrong in smelling. I am smelling some BS, a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one temple in my neighborhood, the Persian temple, and they do strict. They don't have a Shabbos goy. They leave the lights on all night, Friday night, and it's on Saturday day until Saturday night. And they don't have no one clean up the Kiddush room. No one does. They pretty much they don't do that whole thing. But most places I go to, they have like a Shabbos goy. People ask questions all the time. That's like the biggest question. Is like, how can a Shabbos goy be even halakhically acceptable in a way?
If you arrange it beforehand.
Just arrange it beforehand.
And if you yeah.
So it's real. I mean, and it's sort of in a way, it's like he's the person, particular individual is willing to do it out of his own volition. It's not. That's pretty much the bottom line is what we're getting to.
Willingness, because I wanted to be a Shabbos goy.
You got to be willing. Yeah, willingness.
When I first got into it, I'll flip your light switches. I'll let you live a goyish life on Saturday. And it won't be on you at all. And then I was told, and this is when I began to originally thought of converting, and was taking classes. That's when it's like, well, we don't want to encourage a Shabbos goy. And I said, okay, without asking what a Shabbos goy was. I just took it as no. We thank you, but no thank you, kind of a thing. That's how I took it. Okay. Went till later that I found out what a Shabbos goy was. And even then I had a hard time with it because, I wanted to be that guy, but.
I love that post you put, though, on Facebook. I ain't no Shabbos goy, you dig?
I ain't no Shabbos goy, you dig?
I have a friend up in Chicago, Bob. You probably know Bob.
Bob comes in, yeah. Bob comes in. He's a Shabbos goy, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go, Shabbos goy. He was telling me a story once about the family that he was over at their house, and he says occasionally there was this one Shabbat when it got pretty cold, and several people had found some little blankets and covered themselves with the blankets. And he said the rabbi came over, gave me a little hint. Bob, you look cold. Aren't you a little bit cold? Bob said, well, that was my cue to go and adjust the thermostat. I said, lucky it was you. Because if he'd asked me that, I'd have said, yeah, you got another blanket?
Another blanket.
Come on. You don't get it?
No, I didn't get it. Sorry. It went over my head. The little boy said to the other little boy, do you have another blanket? What?
Do you have another blanket? I wouldn't turn up the thermostat. I'd ask him for another blanket.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I thought it was humorous. Come on.
I got
Hey,
I
I
got
get it now. Yeah, yeah. I get it. Well, it's not exactly a Shabbos Goy story, but there's a story once where it was Pesach, Passover, and my rabbi calls me like 2 o'clock in the morning, wakes me up, and he I don't know. He was like asking my rabbinical opinion on fish food. The fish tank was making so much noise because the water had dipped below the certain point in the fish tank, so the motor wasn't working properly. So you had to put like water into the thing, but you can't just put water from the sink. It has chlorine. It kills the fish. The fish he had would kill the fish. So he wasn't sure if the fish food and the water purifying thing was kosher for Pesach. This is so crazy. This is sugar. He's calling me. Do you think, John, is fish food kosher for Passover? I'm like thinking to myself, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. What do you call? I mean, it would. I don't want to look. I don't want to open up the drawer and look at it. I'm not. You're not supposed to even look at komets, right? You're not supposed to look at even. So he's not sure if it's kosher for Passover. And so he's for like 15, 20 minutes. We're arguing about. No, Rabbi, I'm pretty sure they didn't put any sort of like bread or any sort of like corn. I'm pretty sure it's not made of it. No, come over. He makes it. So I go down to his house at 2 o'clock in the morning to put water in his tank, to put put fish food in the fish tank, clean the water, make sure it's fishes. I'm like, oh my God, Meshuggah.
it's vegetable. It's seaweed and
it's just
algae
funny.
and all that stuff.
It's just funny that he had the chutzpah to call me and wake me up. It's like, but no, it's all right. He gave me the mitzvah. It was a good mitzvah. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind helping out. I love the family.
I have to excuse myself. I'm up here in Fort Worth with my in-laws, and I really need to get back into their company.
Well, here's to you.
I'm coming down to Dallas tomorrow for a little while. Are you still going to be up there?
We hope to be here, yes, all day tomorrow, yes.
Cool. Well, cool.
Whereabouts in Dallas?
Well, South Lake. It's outside of Dallas. It's up there. I'm just going to hang with my mom for the night.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's Dallas. It's not Oklahoma City. It takes an hour to get anywhere. But anyway, I'll be in the neighborhood.
Okay, well, you want my phone number? We can maybe do a little chit chat.
I might have to. I'll see how Ma is. She's very you never come and see me. Oh my gosh, she sounds Jewish. The typical, stereotypical. You never come see me. You never spend enough time with your mother. It'd be nice to hear from you once in a while. Mom, I called you 3 days ago. I know, son, but before that, you never called. Mom, I called. No, you never. And it's, I mean, just my wife's like, you can go see your friends. You haven't seen them in 10 years. And I'm like, no, if I do that, I'm going to get this massive guilt trip. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm going to take off, Mom, tomorrow night. She says, oh, fine, go. I don't care. No, I'll talk to her. I'll see if I can get some time off. 42. That guilt stuff hangs on.
All right. Well, thank you again. I'm going to duck out.
All right. Shalom, Russ. Thank you.
Shalom.
Take care. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. You can say Shabbat shalom Wednesday night to Saturday night because half the week is over.
Yeah. I look forward to it. I look more forward to it if I wasn't in Texas. Well, I've learned. There's a lot to learn tonight, hadn't there? My eyes are opened.
Little overwhelming too, man. Oof. Heavy duty tonight.
Heavy. You want to do some Haftarah?
Sure, Haftarah. Go for it.
Guys, I gotta get going, but it was good to see you guys.
Take care, Frank.
You too, Frank. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, after the 20th, I should be good. So, guys,
20.
Success. What's the word? Hang
All
on.
luck, Frank.
All right, thank you.
Hatzlacha. Kapla. Oh, okay.
I heard you. Don't worry. Thank you.
Cool. Success, my friend. I gotta find where the Haftarah is. I don't mind talking too. It's just the we have 30 minutes to kill.
I think that's. I mean, when I talk to people on Google Plus and stuff, that's pretty much how I explain Judaism to people. It's like I give them basic halacha premise, you know. I think that's a good way of doing it too. I think most people aren't taken back. It could be a little overwhelming when you start getting into the whole extra biblical criteria, as they call it.
Yeah, I've actually been stumbling over that myself. Someone asks me a question or brings up something, and I want to set them straight, or I want to explain where I'm coming from, and I can't do it. Because
a lot of questions people. Yeah, you can't do. Well, I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
Not everybody can swim in the deep end. I can hold my own for a little while, and when I'm borrowing, you know, when I'm trying to, it's like, oh, there's too much here to, you know, I'd have to train them how to swim, or I'd have to go get a floaty and blow it up. I'd have to go through so much more. I just can't give them a straight answer because it's sola scriptura for so many people.
I think sola scriptura is a good way of putting it. Like recently, people have been asking me. People have been asking about, you know, Mashiach, and when is the Mashiach come in, and what perspective we have with you. You know, the basic answer is that, you know, not necessarily something you have to hold to as a Jew. I mean, it's part of Maimonides, you know, 13 principles of faith. You're supposed to believe in the coming of Messiah, but you know, at the end of the day, it's more about how you are as a person. Are you keeping Shabbos, eating kosher, putting on tefillin every day, even on the intermediate days? But you know, how you view the Messiah. You know, I think it's a pretty practical. I can understand why a lot of people do that, James. The difference is, like, you want to just, you know, make a distinction, make a line, help, whatever. So let's read the Haftarah. Let's go.
No, yeah, I've learned that too. I didn't see it. I wasn't sure, but you know.
You know what? It hurt. It kind of snips you. To be honest with you, when I start going into the whole deep end and I start bringing up midrashim and I start bringing up other things, it's hard to. It's hard to defend it, defend the belief, because it's not tangible. Would that be the word to use? It's not concrete. You know what I mean? I can safely say the written Torah. I can bring something from the written Torah and say, oh, look, this is what it says. When you start using other things outside, it's kind of hard. Well, what about this? And people ask you, well, what about that? It's like, well, you start getting a little. It starts getting a little. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no,
Halacha is very practical.
Yeah, it's like a different language. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do Haftarah? Let's do Haftarah. This week, if you're tuning in for the very first time, the Haftarah is a section of the Hebrew Bible, what is often referred to as old, but really means only. It's a part of the Hebrew Bible that directly pertains to the Torah portion we were studying tonight in Genesis, starting with Genesis 23. This week we are in Kings 1, the first book of Kings. We're going to read the first chapter, the first verse, through the 31st verse. So pretty clear cut and dry. First book of Kings, first chapter, first 31 verses. I will be reading out of my new, well, it's not a new book, but it's new to me. It's the Chumash, the Gutnick edition. So bear with me. This is the Chumash I'm learning from this year anyway. We'll see how things go. Might be a couple years. Might get another Chumash. I'm going to get that Midrash says too. Okay, here we go. King David was old. The signs of old age were not premature, but came at the right time. They covered him with clothes, but he did not become warm. His servants said to him, "Let a virgin be sought for my master the king. Let her stand ready before the king to provide warmth for him. She will lie in your bosom so that my master the king will be warm." They looked for a beautiful girl throughout the entire territory of Israel. They found Avishag, the Shunammite, and brought her before the king. Avishag, the Shemanite, and brought her before the king. The girl was extremely beautiful. She acted as a warmer for the king and served him, but the king did not know her in an intimate way. Meanwhile, Adoniah, son of David, and Haggis was acting haughtily like a king, as if he were actually saying, "I will reign." He prepared a chariot and horsemen for himself, and 50 men running before him. Since his father had never reprimanded him, saying, "Why have you done this?" he presumed that he had his father's approval. He also thought he was fit to be king because he was very good looking, and he was born right after Avshalom, who had died, leaving Adoniah the eldest. He consulted with Yoav ben Zeruiah, and Avyasar the priest. They supported Adoniah because he knew that they were disliked by David, but Zadok the priest and Benaniah, son of Jehoiada, Nasan the prophet, Shimei, Rai, and David's strong man, Eleazar, Adino, and Shammah, were not with Adoniah, for they remained loyal to David. Okay. Adoniah offered sheep, cattle, and fat oxen at the Zochelis stone altar, the fountain, in Ragael, and he invited those that supported him from among all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the people of Yehudah, the king's servants. But he did not invite Nasan the prophet, Benayahu, and the strong men, nor his brother Shlomo. Nasan spoke to Bathsheba, Shlomo's mother, saying, "Adoniah, the son of Haggis, has plans to become king. Our master David doesn't know about it. Now please let me advise you so that you will save your life and that of your son Shlomo, for Adoniah will surely kill you both if he becomes king. Go and enter before King David and say to him, 'My master the king, didn't you swear to your maidservants, saying, Shlomo, your son, will reign after me, and he will sit on my throne. So why has Adoniah become king? Then while you are still talking there with the king, I will enter after you and confirm your words.' Bathsheba came to the king into his bedroom. The king was very old, and Avishag the Shunammite was serving the king. Bathsheba bowed down and prostrated herself before the king. 'What do you want?' the king said. She said to him, 'My master, you swore to your maidservant in the name of God Almighty that Shlomo, your son, will reign after me and will sit on my throne. But look, Adoniah has become king, and you, my master the king, did not know. Proof of the matter is that he made a feast where he sacrificed many cattle, fattened oxen, and sheep. He invited all the king's sons, Avyasar the priest, and Yoav the army general, but he did not invite the heir Shlomo, your servant. Don't think it was the people that chose Adonai, for the eyes of all Israel are upon you, my master the king, to tell them who should sit on the throne of my master the king after him. However, if you do not do so, then my master the king passes on and lies with his fathers, and my son Shlomo will be deprived of our lives. Then while she was still talking to the king, Nassan the prophet arrived in the king's quarters. They announced to the king, saying, Nassan the prophet is here. He entered the king's presence, and he prostrated himself to the ground on his face. Nassan said, my master the king, did you say Adonai should reign after me, and he will sit on my throne? Because today he went down and sacrificed many cattle, fattened oxen and sheep, and he invited all the king's sons, the army generals, and Avyasar, the priest, to what could only be a coronation feast. They are eating and drinking in his presence, and they will surely have said, long live King Adonai. And he did not invite me, Tzadok the priest, Benayahu, son of Yehoiada, nor Shlomo your servant. If this matter has come from my master the king, I wonder why you have not previously informed your servant who should sit on the throne of my master the king after him. King David replied and said, call Bathsheba for me. She came before the king and stood before the king. The king took an oath, saying, by the life of God who has delivered my soul from all suffering, just as I swore to you in the name of the Almighty God of Israel, saying, Shlomo, your son will reign after me, and he will sit on my throne. So too, I will swear today that Shlomo will become king immediately during my lifetime. Bathsheba bowed her face to the ground and prostrated herself to the king. She said, may my master King David live forever. And thus ends the Haftarah this week.
It's a good one.
The opening of this is some commentary. Haftarah on Parshas Chayei Sarah. The opening of this Haftarah, which describes King David's advanced years, resembles the statement in the Parsha that Avraham had advanced in years. Haftarah describes King David's last days before his passing, during which the time his son, Adonai, begins to celebrate his succession to the monarchy. Bathsheba, Shalom's mother, is thus advised to go to the king and reiterate his promise that Shlomo would become king. She does so, and Nassan joins the audience with the king to confirm the reports of Adonai's behavior. King David responds by instructing that Shlomo should be anointed as king immediately in his own lifetime. The notion that Shlomo was actually anointed king in the lifetime of King David is somewhat problematic, as it appears to contradict the Talmud's statement that God told King David, the time of your son Shlomo's monarchy has come, but one monarch will not overlap the other, even by a hair's breadth. We also have the rule that two kings cannot use the same crown. However, Shlomo's appointment in David's lifetime brings to light the distinctive quality of divinic sovereignty. In the case of ordinary kings, the monarchy merely represents the prevailing seat of power, which comes to the appointment of a king, and not a naturally endowed quality. Since it is only possible for one person to be the final authority, it follows that there can only be one king at any given time. For them, king has no implication other than authority. However, a king from the house of David possesses the rights to monarchy as an inherent personal quality. Thus, the concept of kingship could be revealed in two or more people at any one time, even though only one of them is the practical final authority. Consequently, the anointing of Shlomo in his father's lifetime was a process which catalyzed the fruition of Shlomo's inherent kingly qualities. The anointment accomplished that Shlomo's ingrained nobility should no longer remain a latent talent. Therefore, he could now be termed a king, despite the fact that he was not an acting ruler empowered with authority, as the anointing successfully brought out the loyal attributes from potential to actual. May my master David live forever. This declaration represents the eternal power of Davidic monarchy. The Haftarah relates the means by which David's monarchy was continued through Shlomo, and it will be perfected with Moshiach, who is a descendant of David and Shlomo. There you have it.
Amen. Amen. That's good.
Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I could read a little something here about the commentary of the Parsha. I like to do this. I get an email every week on Thursdays about just a little. It's from. I mean, you can subscribe. Anyone subscribes to it. It's from HabadRoslyn.org. It's my temple. I mean, I don't really care. People know where I go, but they have an email that you can subscribe to. It says, in this week's Torah portion, we read how Rivka, came to join Abraham's household as Isaac's wife. She was a righteous young woman, kind, caring to the extreme. Yet it was only when she was together with Isaac that certain miracles began to happen to her. Her Shabbos candles stayed lit all week. Her bread is blessed, and a cloud hovers over her tent, as the Parsha relates. Alone, she was great, but with Isaac, she was even more and more successful. She became even more and more successful. A marriage that flourished. We learn exemplary character traits. In this week's Torah portion, Sarah, we learn that Sarah passes away. Abraham wants to bury her in the cave of the matriarch, and the sons of Het offered to give Abraham the land for free, but Abraham refuses their offer and insists that he will pay, quote-unquote, full price for it. Rashi explains, full price means it's real value. It's full value. Abraham wanted to totally disassociate from its previous owner, Ephron, and was adamant about paying the full price of the field. Had Abraham received it as a gift, Ephron would have still had certain claims to the land, even though Abraham was officially the owner. King David did the same thing many years later after conquering Jerusalem. David insisted on paying, I can't pronounce this name, Arava, the same price, in order to gain the possessions in absolute sense, quote unquote. It is up to every Yid to become his true owner, in his part by learning in this world Torah and observing its mitzvot with real effort and total exertion. Just as Abraham and David did not take the easy way out, they insisted on paying, quote, the real price, unquote. So too we must invest in the hard work necessary to grow spiritually. Only through hard work can we truly succeed in refining our surroundings by this extension, and of course the entire world. This is quoted from volume 10 of the Rebbe's commentary. I like that one. That was a good one.
Any final thoughts?
There was always we don't really talk about this much, but there was always haggling going on. Even Abraham, David did it, of of that particular land. I mean, we go back and forth, like Palestinian, Arab, Jew. Who does it belong to? It's like a tug and war. I mean, even doesn't I think even the Torah even talks about how even the tribe that was designated for the Temple Mount too was even what was it, the tribe of Benjamin or some Benjamin that was even given reparations for the land. There's always there was always going back and forth. Anyway, haggling. Jews, they love to haggle. So.
You have any final words?
I'm guessing you're talking to the rabbi.
Yes, Gav. Yeah. All right. Don't legislate from Aggada. Like, that's lesson 1. Don't legislate from Aggada. Legislate from halacha only.
True. Yeah. And
Og served a noble purpose at one time.
That still gets me. I don't understand, how can he do that to be like the rabid anti-Semite? Like, how I mean, I don't get it.
Knowing what mankind had gone through. Yeah. It's part of that old world that probably should have died off.
So how many years exactly was that, if we count from the time that he lived with Noah, he lived through the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all the way through Joshua, to entering the Holy Land? I mean, how many years is that?
I got to find. There's a genealogy here in the Gutnick.
It has to be at least 100 years, 900 to 1,000. That has to be 100 years. Abraham would have been another. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would have been another 300 years. That's 400 years.
It was 400 years in exile, wasn't it?
So that's 800 altogether. So you're talking he's living a good 800 plus years.
Not even talking about how long he might have lived prior to the flood.
Right. Yeah. All right.
How the mighty fall.
We didn't really get to. Oh, we're still live. We didn't really get to we didn't really talk about much of the Parsha, though. We didn't really. Is there something that grabs you, or you want to take away from it, or? I've been fascinated by the well at Beersheba. That's just hit me. We had the Abraham Parsha a while back. That's really stuck with me. Before we even got, so that's kind of what stands out here. Of course, I just ponder over that. The 7 lambs, a covenant of peace, right?
A friend, being setting up a place, a self-sustaining place. Your hospitality keeps going. It's still there. It's still, the town's still called Beersheba. 3,000, 4,000 years later, whatever.
Wells are very important in Judaism. It's a very part of, especially the parts of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov's life. The wells, I think they meet don't they all meet their wives at wells? I think they all meet their wives. Not Abraham did not make his wife. Isaac met his wife at a well, and Jacob met his wife. Both of his wives.
What did Moses?
Moses met his wife at a well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zipporah. Yeah. He fended off the Midianites, right? Didn't they want to to kill him?
They were bullying her or doing something. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think it means like, blessings from heaven. Well means heavenly blessings. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Maybe I'll meet my wife at a well, huh?
Yeah. By the wishing well and stand with your hand out, with your hand off. And the girl who throws it into your hat, not the well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not kidding.
Yeah, I still stand by I still stand by I don't want to look at Lot as a respectable character. I still don't take away. I think it's pretty clear that he's not a decent person. I might be wrong. Maybe Ross is right. Maybe he was a righteous Gentile. Maybe he was a ger. I don't
Abraham
know.
would have hoped.
You know, I like that though. I like how he's pondering. I like that. Like, I wonder what's Lot doing? Well, God, how many righteous people are there? 50, 49? What's going on here? I could sort of see that. I like that. That's kind of like
he obviously lived in Sodom for a reason.
Yeah.
He was a judge of Sodom. If he sat at the gate, and if he was a judge, then he must have liked the place. It was on Abraham's. I always heard it was on Abraham's merit that he was saved and not his own.
Right. I think it's pretty clear. Yeah. I think Abraham pretty much saved his life. Yeah. Twice, a couple of times. I mean, he saved his life from Nimrod. He was going to be killed with Nimrod, and he saved him again. Yeah. Maybe, and I think that's what the war. I think that's war of Sodom and Gomorrah was. It was a big war, if I'm not mistaken. There was a warring tribes. The king of Jerusalem, whoever that may be, Shem, he calls Abraham. You know, I need help. They're conquering Jerusalem. It says that Abraham was a great man. He was a great warlord. Actually, it says that Abraham was a wealthy landlord. He's a wealthy arms dealer, sold arms. It talks about in the Talmud that he had this magic sand that he was able to. Abraham has such faith in God, he would be able to grab the sand and throw it, and the sand would become like spears and arrows and would fall on their enemies and kill them, like a drone attack. Obama nuking.
Wow.
It would powerful, powerful sand, and he led men. It says that he had like an army, men, whatever this means, souls. Russ refers to them as souls. I guess converts to Judaism, and you just wonder where these people. It even lists in the Torah. It lists that Abraham had more children. Hagar maybe came back as Keturah, and it even says that Keturah had 6 children. Or how many children did they have with Abraham? 7. And so, I think, I would like to know what happened to these children. How come there wasn't more of these children fall by the wayside? What did they just end up going back to idol worship? Did they, it says Ishmael came back. Ishmael came back. He repented at the end of his life because he started serving idols, but he came back eventually. And it's interesting. I kind of would like to, how it all fit in. How does it all work? What was Lot's real intentions? What was really happening? It's interesting. That's all. It's very fascinating. Allegedly, Abraham wrote a book. It's I guess a point of contention because it's considered Kabbalistic. The Book of Creation, it's considered written by Abraham himself, and it's about.
Really?
It's a very mystical book. It's like, how does God create the universe or something? I never read it. I don't really care to, but it's considered a mystical book. And Abraham was a good. I like Abraham. Abraham is a. Abraham. Oh, I do have an interesting take on something I learned. Actually, I thought you would find fascinating. We were still live. Maybe we could talk about it.
Go ahead.
So we're told to believe that Abraham was a Jew, right? And then he kept Torah. He instinctually knew Torah. That's how he's the first Jew, right? He did all the commandments. He knew how to do. He even knew kosher laws, right? He knew how to separate the meat from the milk, right? It even says, he served the angels the milk. Time went past. Then he served them tongue with mustard, and it goes into all these details about what he's feeding him. And so why does it say that Abraham waited until he was 99 years old to perform circumcision on this earth? Why did the Brit Milah was the last thing he did? If he instinctually, the question is this: so if he instinctually knew Torah and kept it, wouldn't he circumcise himself first, then carry out mitzvah, keep kosher, blah 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 blah? At the end of the day. So what's fascinating, I read this in the Midrash Says, which is the book you want to get.
Yeah.
It says that it would have technically violated the prohibition of murder under the Noahide laws. Because the Noahide law says that prohibition of murder includes cutting yourself, making marks in your flesh, drawing blood. You know how we say drawing blood is a sign of murder? Like Abel... Like Cain drew the blood of Abel, whatever that means. Did he kill him? Did he make him blush? Did he pull down his pants and they saw his little tiny ding dong? Whatever happened, he drew his blood.
If man sheds
right?
man's blood, then by man his blood shall be shed.
Right. So it says it's what's fascinating. It says under the Noahide laws, carving into your flesh, cutting your flesh, is considered violating the prohibition of circumcision. So he needed Hashem sort of override the laws. He couldn't initiate the circumcision because then he would be cutting into his flesh. He needed to get the okay, sort of, okay, the covenant's coming. I found that very fascinating.
And that would be, he had an entire nation at that point, or he had an entire tribe. And they all got circumcised. Instead of doing it when he's 5 or 8 or 20 or whatever, God waited till there was a nation there to start. Ooh.
Waited a nation to be circumcised, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone got it.
Yeah. That was when he became instead of a father of a nation, he became father of nations. Avraham, father of many nations. Av meaning father. Father of a nation, father of okay. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I thought you found that interesting, yeah. I never knew that. There's some things I've read the the 7 Laws of Noah, the book with the picture of the dove on the cover, whatever that book. What's that book called? Volume 2 isn't out. Volume 2 isn't out?
Say what?
The one that does the Volume 2 never came out.
Oh, the Divine Code.
The Divine Code, yeah. I don't think it says that marking into your flesh is a violation. Does it?
I don't know. I haven't looked at that in a while. I can look. I got it right here. Let's see.
Let's do a little. Let's see how well, because that's like a point of contention of the hangout. Like, what's halakha and what's not?
It's murder and personal injury is what it's considered here. Let's see what the suicide. Let's see. I'm looking here. I'll just read you the contents. It's 9 sections in part 5, the prohibition of murder and injury. Details examples of the prohibition of murder, abortion, euthanasia, causing mortal injury, and partners in murder. Part 2 would be suicide and sacrificing one's life for another, or for one of the 7 Noahide commandments. Then we have pursuer and self-defense, accidental killer, intentional and unintentional killing, prohibition of causing personal injury or damage. Okay, so we'll look at the first one, which would be, or the second one, which would be suicide.
Yeah.
See what they say, because that's that would be causing harm to yourself, although I seriously doubt anything's going to be in here. But let's look.
I have to read the footnotes because if I read the book, they did give the footnotes to where they said it's according to Noahide law. I mean, they can't just blatantly say it's. I mean, maybe they can. I don't know. Without giving a source on that, to go back and look at that.
Okay, on chapter 2, it says, one who takes his own life intentionally is a murderer and is liable for punishment by God for the capital sin of murder, as it is stated, by your blood of your own souls I will demand. This refers to one who took his own life, who is judged by God, and his soul is punished in Gehenna for his act of suicide. Even one who is enduring great physical suffering from illness or an injury will surely die because there is no available cure for him, or one who is suffering from great degradation, embarrassment, or depression is forbidden to commit suicide. Likewise, others are not permitted to kill him as an act of mercy, even upon his request, as explained in the above topic.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Euthanasia is permitted. Yeah.
He's permitted to it seems one is committed to assuming oneself in captivity or slavery. Might be the Gentile is not required to sacrifice his life to avoid transgression of the Noahide law, i.e., Gentiles permitted to transgress in order to avoid being killed.
Oh, nice.
Even if a person is being forced to kill someone who is inherently dying, or an embryo in his mother's womb, he should rather let himself be killed than kill the sick or dying person or the embryo. Okay. We're not getting into the...
yeah, I don't think it's going to be fight time. I'm going to find it.
Look down to personal injury, causing personal injury or damage. Which is part 6. We'll flip down here. There's part 4. There's part 5. And we are at part 6. And just as prohibition of murder is forbidden to harm any person, whether male or female, this applies not only to physical harm, such as wounding or bruising, but also to emotional harm, such as scarring and terrifying, or embarrassing a person, for example, stripping the person in public.
Yeah.
This includes causing suffering in any way and damaging a person through speech, as will be explained in chapter 8. All these types of harm are forbidden. One raises his hand to another with intention to hit the person, even if he doesn't actually do so, is still a sinful person.
Yeah, we're getting into a lot of minutia.
One who spills the blood of men. Since any type of hammering or offshoot of spilling blood, even though a Gentile is not liable for punishment for harming another person without murdering, still, okay, a Gentile who maliciously strikes a Jew is forbidden to harm oneself. There we go. Just it is, okay, here we go. You ask, here we go. Just as it is forbidden to harm another person, it is also forbidden to harm oneself. That is from Panim Yafat and Likudi, Sihon in footnote 193. See Rambam Laws of Personal or Injury and Damages 5.1. So we'll just go to the Rambam. Laws of Injury. Okay. As it says in Genesis 9:5, the blood of your souls will I demand, just as it is learned from this verse. It is forbidden to commit suicide. It is likewise forbidden to harm oneself. Tractate Bava Kama 91b is mentioned in footnote 193. The body of a person is not self-possessed. From Tractate Bava Kama 90b, Shulchan Aruch Harav, Laws of Bodily Damage, topic 4. And a person therefore has no right to harm himself without due reason, in the manner that one may do to his own property. Even if a person has given permission to another to harm him, it is forbidden for the other to do so. Also includes a prohibition of causing oneself suffering for no reason, since the body is not one's own possession. But if there is a purpose in it, such as toil for making a living, it is surely permitted.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
We'd have to go look up their sources, because sometimes editors enter their own personal stuff into this.
Yeah, I found it a very I just found it a very profound statement. I just found it.
So you have to have God's permission to be circumcised.
Yeah, I just found it. Yeah. I found it to be a very logical answer. It made sense. Oh, okay.
All right, on that note, I want to end the live portion, y'all. Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, Nilvah Nexus Google Plus page every Thursday here on Google Plus, James the Idol Smasher at yahoo.com. On behalf of Gav and Yochanan, And everybody here in the Nexus, myself, Shabbat Shalom, y'all.